Shalom and welcome to this week's Living Torah as we turn to the book of Numbers, Bamidbar. Before we do, yesterday was a day of celebration both in the United States and Israel. For the United States is Memorial Day, and the day that we celebrate mattress sales, furniture sales, and all kinds of other sales. No, it's a day in which we are to honor those who did not come back from service in various wars. In Israel, on the other hand, it was Jerusalem Day, a day to celebrate the end of the Six-Day War. I mean, who has a Six-Day War? Only Israel. Unfortunately, this current war that's happening is going to be at day number 600. What is the reason for that? Well, we live in a society, as I post on Facebook, that is more about talk than about action. And we see that not only in the United States, and I know that I could be, some could disagree with me on that, but there is still to this point, though I believe, this is not a political statement, the current administration is more about action than some previous ones, but there's still more talk than there is action. In Israel, it's pretty much mostly talk right now, still from those in leadership. May that change. May it change soon and in our day. As I'm recording, I'm getting ready. Kathy and I are heading out to Colorado for just a few days to see family, spend a little time in Grandpa Sir duties, which is always fun. And the great thing is one of our grandsons is now old enough that we're going to go out and compete a little bit on a round of golf and see how Chase does. So maybe I'll have a good report for me in that game next week. I don't know. Speaking of coming back from, I will be turning around very fast from there and heading up to about 30 minutes north of us for youth camp. I appreciate those of you that have already committed to prayer for that time. I believe it's going to be an amazing 5 days. I think it's 5 days with these young people. I'm really looking forward to that. All right, the book of Numbers, which the translation Numbers is about as far away from the meaning of this book as we could possibly get. The only thing about it is that we do have in chapter 2, we have the numbering of the people, and it says to take a census, so they kind of got take numbers out of this, but the title of this book, Bamidbar, is a place of words. Debar. The words, when we place that bait in front of it, we could actually translate this as the words that are coming forth from his house. Debar. The first time that this word is used, if you want to look these things up, is in Genesis chapter 8, verse 15, when it says that El spoke to Noah. Now, this is a different word than what is used in Genesis, but it is still the same thought. This is what is coming forth from his mouth. One is in the creation, the other is to a person. I have kind of, going back into the language, the Hebrew language a little bit, we could actually come up with a bit of a different take on this. And I'll give you that my definition of this book is uncharted territory of exile. The uncharted territory of exile. It says that this is the first day of the second month of the second year that they had left. Interesting enough, the first 10 chapters occur within a 20-day time period. The rest of it will occur over some 38 plus years. Now, this is one of those places I think it would behoove all of us to go back and consider again a scripture that is regarding this time. I'm going to let you or ask you to read this on your own. I'm not going to turn there, but it's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 through 6, which again tells us these are prefigurative historical events that are here to teach us about what our walk is to be. First of all, it says to take a census. This is verse 2. One of my pet peeves with using the King James Version and many other versions. In fact, this also is true with David Stern's version here. David Stern translates it as take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel, whereas King James says, take ye the sum. Okay, I would have a hard time getting a definition from take ye the sum. All right, if you love King James and that's what you're about, okay, fine. But I just believe that unless we spend a little bit more time, as I spoke to Life Assembly a couple of weeks ago about Brad Scott, blessed memory, Brad Scott's definition of going back to the clean water at the top of the mountain. And how Brad, I loved every time that I heard him teach on this, he was desiring to go back to that mountaintop. See, when you have the snowpack that is on the mountaintop, that is clean, that is pure. You can take that snow, you can melt it down, you can drink it. There's little to no hazard at all that there is anything of corruption in there. Okay, if you're in an acid rain or something, okay, I'd have somebody, probably not our listeners, but somebody, if I post those on Facebook, that would say, well, what about if it was next to the volcano that's blowing up? All right, whatever. But the top of that mountain, when Kathy and I hiked a number of times in Alaska, we would be above tree line. We would be at the top of the mountain with snow. You can melt that down, you can drink it. But as soon as that snow melted, it began to become the streams and eventually the rivers that would flow. With each moment of the flow of that water, it had the opportunity to pick up contaminants. So within just moments of its melt, it can find a dead raccoon on the side of the mountain. Well, if you drink the water that's above the dead raccoon, that's good. If you drink the water that's below the dead raccoon, well, it can make you extremely sick and even lead to death. Now, the farther down the mountain you go, the more dead raccoons that water may have come in contact with. And then you get into the stuff that's at the bottom, the pollution, the sludge, you end up with a swamp. Now, when we decide that we're going to go back up the stream, we're going to, get out of the swamp. That muddy stuff that you can't quite figure out. You can't see to the bottom. It's just muddy, murky. You don't know what is there lurking in that water because it's so cloudy. And the moment that you start to move back up, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take effort. Okay? But with every dead raccoon that you pass, the water is going to become a little bit more pure until you get to the top. So, are we settling for drinking from the swamp water that's been filtered through our Berkey? Or are we willing to take the time, the effort to climb the mountain past the dead raccoons and get back to the top? Now, when we do that, we find some amazing things that we go from take ye the sum of King James, and we go to take a census of David Stern translation. But then when we get a little closer to the top, we find out that it is actually the word nasa, which is to lift up. Yeah, it's an interesting play there in that the National Aeronautics Space Administration, hope I got that one right, is named NASA, which is all about lifting things up from this earth into the heavenly realm. So NASA is the scientists and everybody that's involved with that, their basic job description is, let's take something from this earthly realm and put it into the heavenly realm. Well, is not that what we're trying to do with our looking at the actual languages here? But the word is speaking not about the language per se, it is speaking about a people who came out of bondage, a people who came out of slavery, a people who came out of a corrupt society, a people who, when they left or when they were in Egypt, had no hope, had no future, which means they were all, if you've ever watched the Ten Commandments movie or whatever, slaves, as I've said many times, usually walk with their head down. And so this word is lift up the heads of the people, so that they can begin to look at what is on the horizon. They can look to the future. So this whole book is about a people who are making a decision with their lives of looking to the future or continuing in their past. We will read during this that only two would actually keep that posture to the point that they would be able to enter into what is before them. The rest would die in the place that they are looking at, the ground. Now, to skip over, and I'm not going to go into a lot of the actual nuts and bolts of this Torah portion, but I want to bring out a couple of different things. One of my favorites in this Torah portion is in verse 20. It says, the men over 20 years old and over who were subjected to military service were recorded by name. Each one of us, if we look at some of the writings of the Apostle Paul, Rav Shaul, we look through and we see the concepts that were brought forth in the history and the writings. What are we going to find? That, as I said a few weeks ago, the mistake many people make in this world is considering it to be a playground instead of a battleground. So when we do not see it as a battleground, we end up succumbing to the battle and end up being somebody else's toy. All right, when we're not winning that victory, we become the toy of Hasatan to play around with in whatever manner he wants to do. So this concept that these people that we today should be considering ourselves of the age of military service, that we are in a battle. No matter what your age is, you are in a spiritual realm battle today. And with that being said, you are a name, not a number. You're a name, not a number. We go back to the Shoah, the Holocaust, the survivors that came out with a tattoo. I've seen some of them with that tattoo. It was a number. They literally lost their name when they entered into those concentration camps. POWs. We go through many examples of this where whenever a person is taken captivity, their name is the first thing that is taken from them. In Messiah, as we seek to follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we need to understand that we are to him not a number, we are a name. And there's many verses that go into this of, I know the number of the hairs on your head, that you're worth more than how many sparrows. All of the parables that are spoken of this by Yeshua. But can we, can we read the parables and then come back to the understanding that he knows my name? Out of how many billions of people are there on the planet today? I haven't looked in quite some time. I mean, the population is growing. When I looked one time a number of years ago, when I was born, there was about 3.5 billion people upon the planet. Today, I think it's somewhere in the 9 billion mark. No wonder Walmart and Lowe's are so crowded. Okay, another issue. But no matter where you're at, he knows who you are. He knows where you are. He's never misplaced you. He's never lost you. And his desire is that you would then understand that and lift your head unto him. Because in that lifting of the head, my name and the person that's associated with my name has a purpose and a destiny. Now in chapter 2, we see this encampment of the tabernacle with the tribes in the north, south, east, and west, and the picture that this is, which if you do a study, you'll find that this same picture is brought forth in the book of Revelation. So the pattern that he has is remaining the same. We can go back, into that Moshe was shown from on the mountain. He was shown, and then would build from that blueprint in the spiritual realm. He would build an earthly realm representation of that. So I believe that in the millennium, what we will see is the pattern of the tabernacle, the pattern of the tribes will still be in effect. Now, outside of, let's kind of step out of the words of this Torah portion and into a concept regarding this. As we read through the book of Numbers, and we do so with a backdrop of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, what are we going to find? We're going to find that this is a book of yes, wandering. Well, people would call it wandering in the wilderness. I see it as being directed by the Almighty himself. When you have a pillar of fire, when you have a pillar of cloud, you have the cloud by day, you have the fire by night, and you have a river of water running from Mount Sinai, I believe, that's following you through the wilderness. I don't call that wandering around. I call that being directed. Okay, so if we consider that our life today in exile is not just some happenstance kind of thing, but that we are being directed again, as it was then, from place to place. Now we will see along the way the successes of the people. We will see the failures of the people. We will also see the miracles that the Almighty performs during this time. Some of those miracles are for mercy and grace. Some of those miracles are for judgment. When you have a person and a people that are rebelling, and all of a sudden the ground splits at just the opportune time, just the opportune place, and only swallows up those who are of rebellion. Anybody that's calling that consequence really needs to consider their basis of life. When that happens, that's called the Almighty stepping into creation in such a way that even the most casual observer should be able to see this as Him. You know, this, let me sidetrack just a little bit. Right now, the news I saw yesterday was about some tests that are being done in the area of Turkey, which would be Mount Ararat and Noah's Ark. Interesting enough, I was just talking to some folks probably a couple, 3 weeks ago regarding this, that what are some signs that we can look for in our day that may be something that we say, okay, that was not just by coincidence that was found. All right, in the area of up around Haifa, they found a factory, the largest factory ever found for the blue dye of the Tekelet, which is on the Zitziot. There have been various things, including in the city of David, various things that have been found recently. But in Turkey, there is new evidence of finding Noah's Ark. And I've always looked at the writings of Kepha, of Peter, and it says regarding the end of days and those that mock, where is the promise of His coming? He equates that to a group of people who are willingly ignorant of Scripture. Okay, there's ignorant, and then there's willingly ignorant. Willingly ignorant is basically, well, there is a fact there that's being presented to me. I refuse to even research it because I've already made up my mind. I have a person that I know that it's funny. If I even mention the Noah's Ark, Institute for Creation Research up in Ohio, Kentucky, Ohio, that line right there. If I even mention that, it is going to be a conversation of mocking. How could anybody even think of believing that any of that stuff happened? It is an allegory. That's just bedtime stories. That was stuff said around a campfire to entertain people. And you know, it's unfortunate, but this is what is being taught in evolution. This is what is being taught on college campuses today. That all of this stuff is just fables. Well, in the book of in one of Peter's writings, he says in there, in the fact they are willingly ignorant, and he brings up the account of Noah's Ark and the flood, which is, in my opinion, creation science makes a whole lot more sense than evolutionary theory. I'm planning to, in one of my devotionals, short time that I have with the youth one morning, is to speak on some of these things. So what would happen to these willingly ignorant people that have been mocking the account of Noah's flood if all of a sudden they were able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt? This if you didn't see the article, is on the internet, and it is there are right angles. This is from looking at it from I guess a drone probably, or satellite. They were able to see right angles. In creation, we do not have right angles. The way that you find that something is man-made is it will have a right angle to it. There's also the decay of the organic material, which is in line with the account of the ark. There would have been rooms in this, as it's shown in this picture. And so if we were able to find, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, what would happen? I mean, it's going to be fun because I look forward to some of those conversations. What would happen to people if those who were mockingly, willingly ignorant are all of a sudden brought face to face with the account of a miraculous intervention from the Almighty? Well, we have in the book of Bamidbar, we have these miraculous encounters. But let's go to another word here, and that is the word faith. Now, what is faith? Let me give you just my take on it today regarding how we put faith into the book of Bamidbar. Faith is what is walked out between miracles. Okay, that's a new thought for me, by the way. I read an article yesterday from a friend of mine in Israel, and it kind of started spurring this. It put a seed that I started thinking about. That faith is what we walk out between miracles. Anybody can believe in the midst of a miracle. If you go to the doctor and you have something that is wrong with you, it is verified through x-rays and tests and whatever, and you say, well, I want a second opinion. You go to another person and you get the second opinion and it comes back the exact same. Okay, they do more x-rays, more tests, it's exactly the same. Okay, we've now established by Scripture that this is truth. At least, I guess with some of the things, the tests that they do, there is room for discussion on that. But let's just say, for sake of the argument, that this is truth. We have some evidence from two different people, two different witnesses. You go to your congregation the next Shabbat or whatever, and you ask for prayer. You decide, okay, I'm going to go back and have those tests done again. And there's nothing there. You're totally cured. You walk out and you go, that's a miracle. Okay, well, it's kind of hard to not believe at that moment in time. But what's going to happen, a few months later? What's going to happen in your walk from that point? There's no miracles to be seen. It's easy to say we walk in faith when we are seeing miracles every day, on a daily basis. And I guess that, if you look outside the window, you look at creation, creation is a miracle because it is the Almighty stepping into and actually creating a place for Him to perform these things. I just, I look at that as a marvel. But even if not, if I don't see something that is just absolutely, wow, look at that, then I have to walk in faith, and faith is the walking between the two miracles. Well, let's take it one step further. Faith is what is walked when there are seemingly no miracles. When there are seemingly no miracles. So, here's the question. If you are one of the Hebrews in Bamidbar, and you're put into the place of the wilderness, what do you have? Well, you have a daily supply of water. I would call that a miracle. You have a daily supply of food. I would call that a miracle. That daily supply is not there on Shabbat, just in case you think that miracles are routine. Okay, so they do have miracles happening in their sight on a daily basis, but they become so accustomed to that daily level of miracle that they have to have something that's, kind of out of the ordinary miracle to make me to believe for the day. It is possible to be sitting, eating your daily manna and not walking in faith because you don't recognize the miracle that is your very life. So when we don't have those, amazing things happening on the daily basis, the wow moments of look at what God did today instead of just He gave me breath. He gave me my daily bread. He gave me what I need. I am still able to breathe. When we don't have that, where's the faith? And is it that we're looking for those things anyway? If perchance in the book of Bamidbar, the water had stopped flowing, the manna had ceased, where's their faith? I mean, they were having a hard time with faith with the miracles. But what if that had ceased? Would they still have had any faith? Well, let's take it to a couple of verses. And I'm going to give you these verses and let you can write them down, look at them on your own, because I'm kind of, especially in one, I'm just picking it out here. I normally don't do that. But in John chapter 4, verse 48, Yeshua says, unless you see miracles, you won't believe. Unless you see the miracles, you're not going to believe. So is it faith? If we're seeing miracles all the time, is that faith? I would say actually it's not. And what's the purpose of those things? What's the purpose of signs and wonders and miracles? Are we looking for those things? Are we living by them? Is our faith dependent on those things? If you do a word search on signs and wonders, it says that the Jews seek for signs and the Greeks for wisdom, and it also says that in various places that those that are seeking for signs and wonders are setting themselves up for deception. Are we setting ourselves up in looking for all the time? Because in the book of Mark chapter 16, he says this, signs and wonders will follow those that believe. See, we're not supposed to be led by signs and wonders. The signs and wonders are supposed to be following those that believe. In this time during the Count of the Omer, I've been reading through the book of Acts. I mean, I'm challenged every time that I read the book of Acts. I remember Steve Hill, Pastor Steve Hill that was the evangelist at Brownsville Assembly. He says, I come to the realization today that I still need, there's still a place that I need to get closer to in my walk with the Almighty. He said, because today my shadow has not healed anyone, and I've not brought anybody back from the dead. The book of Acts can be challenging. It can also be condemning, because we need to ask ourselves a question when we read the book of Acts. Are we desiring those signs and wonders as an acknowledgement of ourselves? Is our purpose of desiring signs and wonders about us, or is it about Him? I've seen people turn signs and wonders into themselves. Probably many of us have. Okay, the signs and wonders are about Him. But if I don't see in my lifetime a recreating of the book of Acts, that's not what my faith is in. My faith is in a person. And my faith, I pray, is stable whether there be miracles or not. Wow miracles or no wow miracles. I'm still walking it out. Because and I talked to Barry Phillips about this a few weeks ago, in Luke chapter 18, verse 8, is the only time that I've been able to find that Yeshua asked a question. When the Son of Man returns, will he find faith upon this earth? When the Son of Man returns, will he find faith? Will he find people seeking signs? Yes. Will he find people seeking wonders? Yes. Will he find people seeking miracles? Yes. Will he find people that have been seeking those things that are lost in deception? Yes. But will he find anyone that's just walking in faith in the person of Messiah? Will he find faith in the one who is called the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, just because they believe in who he is and the word that he has given to us already? That we don't need another revelation. Is it nice to have another revelation, another level of revelation? Absolutely. But let's face it, folks. I mean, at least for myself, if he never did anything else for me, if I was to, something was to happen to me, I'm not going to even voice the words. And he decided not to heal. Is that going to shatter my faith? I pray not. I've seen enough in my life of him already. Do I have my moments? Yeah, I'm still human. Okay, proved that more times than I'd like to say. We all have. I believe that we all have our doubts. And that's really what faith is, isn't it? When we're challenged by a doubt and we say, that's ridiculous, because I know what he's done for me already. So why should I entertain that doubt that is in my mind? Hopefully never forget, I was at Revive a number of years ago, and it was the prayer time, and I was asked to come up to the front and pray with some people. I had a young lady that I knew, and she came up to me and she said, "Mike, I'm embarrassed to tell you what my prayer request is." I said, "Okay, well, I think I've pretty much heard most everything up until this point." And I said, "Try me, let's see." And she said, "I have times that I doubt that God is actually real. I have times that I doubt that there's really anything to this walk that I have, of his word or anything." And I looked at her and I said, "Thank you." She's kind of like, "What?" And I said, "Thank you for your honesty." I said, because I don't know that I've ever heard anybody that actually admitted that, though I believe all of us have felt that. And I looked at her and I said, you have company, because I have those times too. I have those moments in my own life with all that he has done for me through all these years, even before I acknowledged him. I have my doubts. I believe that all of us have our doubts from time to time. But see, faith is not the absence of doubt. Faith is overcoming the doubt. The book of Numbers is about a people who would not overcome the doubt. So in our wilderness, to finish up, in our wilderness of exile, will he find faith which leads to faithfulness? Or will he find a repeat of history? Let me go at that again. In our wilderness of exile, and that's where we are today, will he find us even before his return? I mean, let's say that we die in exile. Okay? I may pray all the time, your kingdom come, and may it be soon and in my day. But there's no guarantee that that's going to be answered. So if his kingdom does not come soon, if his kingdom does not come in my day, will I, in my last moments, just say, well, that was stupid. Why did I live that way? Why didn't I just go out, and do whatever I wanted? But see, his kingdom coming in my lifetime is that my faith is not based upon that. My faith is based upon, I hope, I pray, I believe that I know him and the power of his resurrection. Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. So if our lives continue and in fact end in exile, will he find us, a people of faith, in exile? And will that faith bring forth faithfulness? Or will we be a people that repeat history? See, wouldn't it be funny, interesting, if there is another book of like Bamidbar 2, Bamidbar the sequel? Okay, any movie out there has a sequel to it. So is it possible that Bamidbar that we read in the Torah right now has a sequel to it, and you and I are the characters in the sequel? Will we be a people that change the narrative in the sequel? Can we change the statistics of the sequel? That if you look back at the numbers that are here, okay, let's go back to Numbers chapter 2. The ending count is regarding just those of military service, military age. It is 603,550. These are the ones whose heads were raised, Nasa. This is verse 32 of chapter 2. From the people of Israel by clans, the total number recorded in the camps, company by company, was 603,550. Out of that, 2 would make it into the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, the land of promise. So in Bamidbar, the original portrayal, the original film, the original movie, the original whatever, out of 603,550, 2 would make it in. In Bamidbar, the sequel, can we change the numbers? Or will we end up about the same if we put the statistics together with the population of those that say today that they are following him? I guess we're just going to have to wait till the end of the sequel to see how it comes out. I don't know how it's going to come out for everybody, but I would like to be the answer to, well, Yeshua's answer, or Yeshua's question in Luke chapter 18, when the Son of Man returns, will he find faith? It will be answered yes or no. My desire is to be part of the yes he did instead of no he didn't. Each of us has that ability in our lives when we understand that faith is not just seeing miracles. Faith is not just some haphazard thing, but faith is an active walk on a daily, in fact, a moment-by-moment basis. Well, time for me to pack up head to Colorado. See you again next week. So, until then, Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom. I guess I got to get those back. I'm already kind of, already thinking about the trip, so here we go. But I got the video done. Barry's with his family in Grassy Creek, so we're not doing the Foundations for Life. But so this is almost like vacation this week. I'm only doing 2 broadcasts this week. All right, with that, Shabbat Shalom, got it right. Shavua Tov, have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem, God willing. See you again next week. Until then, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.